Welcome to the Explainer. Have you ever stopped to wonder why we call Earth the blue planet? Or, get this, how many continents there actually are? Well, today we're diving deep into the basic geography of our world, looking at its massive connected oceans and all the land in between. Let's get right into it.
You know, this is the view that really changed everything. Seeing Earth from space. The first astronauts were just blown away by this blue marble. It's a view that makes you realize, wow, just how much of our world is water. It really sets the stage and perfectly captures what the author Jules Verne was talking about.
Way back in 1870, Jules Verne wrote that the ocean is the vast reservoir of nature. He totally got it. He understood that the ocean isn't just a giant puddle, it's the absolute lifeblood of our planet. It shapes our climate, our weather, the very air we breathe. I mean, in a very real way, the ocean is everything.
So what is it that makes our planet so incredibly blue? It's definitely not just a pretty color. It's actually a dead giveaway to what covers most of our world's surface. And it's the real key to understanding our planet's geography.
And the answer is right here. It's pretty simple. A whopping 3/4 of our planet is covered by water. That amazing blue just dominates everything, leaving only about a quarter of the surface as actual land.
So these huge, connected bodies of water that pretty much run the show on our planet's surface, yep, we call them oceans. They are so big that they hold about 97% of all the water on Earth. And what about the brown parts, those landmasses scattered across all that blue? Well, those are what we know as continents, basically just really large, continuous stretches of land.
Okay, so now let's actually take a little trip across our planet's single massive ocean. You heard me right. While we've given it 5 different names on our maps, the reality is these are just imaginary lines in a world of water that's always moving.
All right, so let's use this map as our guide. It's a great visual. You can clearly see the major continents and, of course, the huge oceans that separate them.
So we've named 5 oceans: the Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, Arctic, and the Southern. But here's a little secret. These are really just names. The lines we draw on our maps, they don't actually exist out there in the real world. And that's the most important thing to remember. Those lines are just something we humans came up with. In nature, there are no boundaries. The seawater just flows freely between all of them, which means all the oceans are connected. It's one single global body of water.
And this view from the poles shows us something really fascinating. All that water on our planet isn't spread out evenly. Not at all. The southern hemisphere is mostly ocean, while the northern hemisphere has way more land. And this imbalance has a huge impact on everything from climate to global trade.
Okay, let's hop over to the land for a minute and see how we define these continents. You might think it's pretty straightforward, but turns out there's actually a bit of a debate.
So if I asked you how many continents there are, what would you say? 4, 5, 6, maybe 7? The funny thing is, the answer totally depends on how you choose to count them. Even geographers don't always agree on this.
For example, some people look at North and South America and say, hey, they're connected, that's one continent. And what about Europe and Asia? Physically, they are one giant landmass called Eurasia. The only reason we think of them as separate is because of centuries of different cultures and politics.
But to keep things simple, and for this explainer, we're going to stick with the 7 continents we usually talk about: Asia, Africa, North America, South America, Antarctica, Europe, and Australia. So, why does any of this geography really matter? Well, because these oceans and continents basically dictate how all life on Earth works, for better and for worse. The ocean especially has this powerful dual personality. The ocean is the cradle of life, no question. It pumps moisture into the air, which creates the rain we need for our crops. Think about the monsoons in India that feed millions. And under the surface, it's just teeming with this incredible diversity of life, from the tiniest little plankton to the magnificent blue whale, which is the biggest animal to have ever lived. But, and this is a big but, that same source of life can also be unbelievably destructive. The power of the ocean is just immense, and a lot of the time, it's completely untamable.
I mean, oceans are where violent storms like cyclones are born, and they can completely wreck coastal communities. They're also where tsunamis start, these gigantic waves set off by underwater earthquakes that can travel for thousands of kilometers.
And this deep respect for the ocean's power is actually woven right into human culture. Take a look at the emblem of the Indian Navy. It shows Varuna,
the ancient Vedic god of the seas. He was a powerful god who could be a kind provider one day and a terrifying destroyer the next. It's a perfect reminder that we are always, in some way, at the mercy of the ocean.
All right, to finish up, let's zoom in on the smaller bits of land. They're often overlooked, but there are tons of them. The islands.
So, by definition, an island is just any piece of land that's smaller than a continent and is completely 100% surrounded by water. And there are hundreds of thousands of them scattered all across our blue planet. Just to give you an idea of the scale, India alone has more than 1,300 islands. That includes major groups you've probably heard of, like the Andaman and Nicobar Islands in the Bay of Bengal and the Lakshadweep Islands in the Arabian Sea.
So, I want to leave you with one last thing to think about. If an island is just a piece of land surrounded by water, then what does that make our continents? I mean, they're also just massive landmasses floating in one single global ocean, right? Maybe it's time we rethink our whole place on this blue planet and see the world not as separate lands, but as one beautifully interconnected whole.